will AI replace jobs? There's obviously a very understandable concern in the market. And I think it kind of goes both ways. Like, yes, I do think there are positions that will be replaced via AI if they haven't already, but also there's a lot of opportunity for augmenting and new jobs as well because of AI. So I think we're going to see it more transitioning necessarily than replacement.
But I think for all the marketers who are listening and watching, the best thing that you can do is to expand and augment your own skill set, in large part using AI tools. And I think that's the kind of thing that'll help sort of future-proof you going into this very new and different world that we've found ourselves in 2023 and 2024.
Like in the early 2000s when computers came into the workplace, and again around 2010 when social media became prevalent. I think both technologies that are pretty super normal now in the workplace, but I'm almost old enough to remember they weren't. They didn't replace jobs, but the folks who really learned how to use those technologies were the ones that were taking over.
We're still finding from the conversations we're having and partners we're working with, there's such a human element to leveraging AI. Like you're mentioning, marketers can adopt these tools and quickly learn them. We're still at a point where like AI is not doing everything for everyone. There's still human intervention and a lot of human aspect that needs to happen in order to get the AI where you want it to be.
Turning attention to, I guess, marketers in general, I think now that the hype wave is kind of peaked a little bit, you can't really just count on marketing your product as like having AI features. You know, every product now at the end of 2023 has, AI this or magic that. So you really got to get back to talking about the problems that your product solves to really stand out. And maybe AI helps with solving those problems, but you really have to focus in on those problems.
The most wild promise you heard in 2023 that never came true? What was everyone talking about as hype that was never quite realized? Emilie, I'll start off with you.
Mine is maybe not as relevant to marketers. Maybe you all would know better, but the one thing that I think about that was so hyped prior to 2023 was like the metaverse. And that is not a promise that has gone away, right? But I don't think the metaverse panned out to what everyone wanted, or the focus shifted from like the metaverse to generative AI. So that's one thing that I'm curious to see where that goes.
So I think one of the things that people maybe started to worry about in 2023, especially when these chatbots came out, is, oh my goodness, it's going to replace creativity. These AIs are extremely creative. They can do that kind of work. And I think what we came to learn is it doesn't so much do that, but maybe it can do things like solving the blank canvas problem. So if you're kind of stuck for ideas, you can use it for generating ideas. You could also use it to help refine some of your ideas. But ultimately, great marketers are going to rise above what AI can do and harness it and use it to really stand out. Kind of building on that, a lot of marketers in the audience have maybe seen this before. The idea is that most marketers should have a broad amount of knowledge across a bunch of different skills in the marketing world, and then go deep on one or two things. And I think what AI is going to let marketers do is actually go deep on more things. So for example, if you're a marketer that's a great writer, but you're not great at video editing, you could use a tool like Lumen 5 to make video. Or if you're a marketer and you want to use your voice, but you don't have the confidence to do that or the equipment to do that, you can use ElevenLabs. So I think you're going to see a lot more kind of, block-shaped marketers and fewer T-shaped marketers in the next couple of years as people expand their skills with AI.
What are some of the ways that you've used AI in your day-to-day?
Every way for me. Like there is any way we can make things more efficient. We're thinking about AI. I think for example, the smallest thing of writing an email, how can I make this sound better, phrase this better, leveraging AI? I don't know what I ever did before that, just sent poorly phrased emails. But now my emails have gotten much better. Thanks to AI.
I'll say one personal answer, one professional answer. On the personal side, it helps me waste less food. I love going to a chatbot and being like, hey, I have this, that, and this other thing in the fridge. What can I make with this? Professional side, Lumen 5 has thousands and thousands of users, and they send us tons and tons of feedback on the videos that we create. And I can use AI to kind of summarize that feedback and surface maybe the top 3 problems that users are having. And for me as a product person, that is such a huge time saver to be able to get those insights just kind of automatically like that.
Emilie, what do you expect to see this year in 2024 as we move forward? Wave a magic wand and suddenly we're in the future of December of this year. What do you think the tech is going to look like, and what do you think marketers are going to be doing with that tech?
I think from ElevenLabs perspective, like a lot of what we're hearing in the market right now and a lot of the asks we have of things we don't do today are just like better quality, better speed. Real time is a big one. So think about like a lot of where we see AI right now is a lot of like pre-processed, for example, videos. You can upload a pre-processed video, dub that into a different language, and then reach a whole new audience that way. What about like now doing that, taking what we're doing pre-process and applying that to real time? So for example, like we're all on this webinar right now. Can I be speaking in my own voice in English, but we're also dubbing that at the same time I'm speaking Spanish, French, Chinese, Japanese. I think like those types of things, like more real-time applications are something that everyone's kind of working towards and building for in terms of just getting like speed down, processes down. I think it's only going to get better.
I think you're going to see AI tools be able to get you from 0 to closer to 100%. So if we look at video tools like AI, in 2017, we could go from, an idea to 30% of the way to a completed video with AI, and then you as the user would have to do the other 70%. And in 2023, it got closer to maybe 80% of the way there. And I think increasingly you're going to see tools get you almost 100% of the way there, where the AI knows exactly kind of what you want, maybe the length of the video, the style of the video, the pacing of the video, the type of media that you like to use. And you have to make very, very, very few tweaks.
There's a lot of people out there who are interested in using AI, but their organizations has told them you can't, or there's a long vetting process. So what are some tips that we can give marketers to sell internally to help them bring AI into their workplace? There you go.
So there's this great book by an author called Jeffrey Moore called Crossing the Chasm. And it's this idea that new technologies will start off with the innovators and the early adopters, and then hopefully cross into the mainstream where lots of people will use it. But there's this kind of chasm where sometimes it fails to make that jump. So for example, if you think back to smartphones, there were smartphones for years before the iPhone, but it wasn't until the iPhone came out that smartphones were in everybody's pocket after a couple of years. So that was kind of the point in time where that technology crossed the chasm. And similarly with AI, we saw a lot of AI tools emerge in 2016 and 2017, Lumen 5 included, but they didn't really take off. They didn't cross into the mainstream. But what we saw in 2023 was they did. Those tools really took off. Mainstream people were using AI tools, and we really saw a lot of interesting things happen there. Now, to answer your question around how do we help marketers adopt those tools, especially at large organizations, it's good to acknowledge that different people or different groups within those organizations might be in different parts of this adoption curve. So the marketers might be the early adopters or the early majority. They're excited about AI, but your IT team and your legal team are more on the laggard or skeptical side. So I think what's going to happen kind of organically or naturally over the next year or two is that some of those kind of late adopters will come on board and be more willing to use those AI tools, especially in larger organizations that are a bit more conservative.
Yeah, I like this bridge between like the early adopters and the late majority. We're definitely on the early side of AI currently, but we're seeing a lot of adoption everywhere. And I think right now there's a lot of pressure in the market of knowing you should implement AI tools, but then within the organization as a whole, how do we do that and where do we start? And I think kind of narrowing in, because there are so many use cases in different places you can start. But I think kind of honing in on where are the places that you have the gaps of things about AI, as we don't know where it's going to lead, but also maybe that's one of the scary things about it as well. But I think like a lot of these things are being determined as innovation progresses. And I think back to the early days of the internet, right? Like the launching of the internet, how many policies and regulations had to come out with that? Like, what can we do on the internet? Where does privacy matter? Where does data matter? Data privacy has obviously been an issue for years now and been a very sensitive topic for years now. And I think it's just the ongoing progression of those conversations. And there's going to be changes and policies rolled out over the years to come as we kind of unpack things that have never been done before.
Yeah, and I think some of this will happen partly through kind of self-regulation. Like you already see social platforms are saying that they want to flag or tag AI generated content, just so that users are aware that what they're watching or seeing might not be an actual human being. So I think some of those things too will start to emerge, maybe even without regulation.